Miyari, Tao, Hola, hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in tonight. A lot of times our areitos in the summer months tend to be a little bit slow because it's summer and people are out hanging out. Okay, let me see how I'm going to. Okay, so Tairile Ra Kenada Traha Taino-Borikua. So my name is Ra, and I am Taino-Borikua. The Taino Hebeyono do Varia Boriquen, Kena Cuba. My Taino ancestors are from Boriquen and Cuba. So me llamo Ra, soy Taino-Boricua, y mis ancestros taínos son de Cuba y Boriquen. Yo nací en Boriquen y por la mayoría me crié en Boriquen, pero vivo entre Boriquen, also known by its colonial name, Puerto Rico, and Lenapehoking, NYC, and New York City, entre Nueva York y Boriquen. Okay. So I am the host of Areito Taino Voices, or Voces Tainxs o Tainxs. Es algo que hacemos cada mes. It's something that we do every month. And this is actually our third year. So este es nuestro tercer año. Today we have two guests. We have Maritza Feliciano Porter and also Veronica Burgos from the IG page Puertorriqueñistas. Our sessions are always in Español, English, Spanglish, Taino. That's how our people do, right? So I do this with the help of my partner Yaceli, and I'll let her I'll give her a second to introduce herself.
Miyari, hello everyone. My name is Yaceli. Dairile Yaceli, the Taino Hebeyono from Quisqueya. Sorry, I'm forgetting my Jikotea right now. And I'm happy to see all your faces. Thank you for being here.
So as I said, my name is Ra. Many of you already know me, but in case anyone here is new, Areito is a Taino word that refers to ceremony, to dance, to poetry, to song, to just, being together. And this is something that we started right at the beginning of the pandemic as a way to stay connected to our community virtually. And it has grown ever since. And we've had a bunch of amazing, wonderful guests. I am a Taino-Borikua artist and educator and organizer. And you can learn more about my work on my website or on my IG page, my Instagram page, or Facebook, or on my YouTube. You can check out my music. But today is not about me. So I'm going to move on from this. So as you may know, if you've been to our sessions before, to Areito, you know that at the very end, we have a game called Taino Trivia. And during that game, we ask a question. And those of you who are the guests here tonight who are coming to tune in, answer that question. Well, we're adding, so we have that segment and we're adding another segment. And this segment is called, let me switch my page. I'll come back to this. This segment is called Ahia Taino or Ahilla Taino. So I've been learning Taino Nike thanks to Priscilla from Casa Areito. I've been learning a little bit of Taino Nike. If you haven't already, you can check out her work on the Casa Areito YouTube page as well as their IG page. So anyways, here I have a sentence for those of you who are new to the modern Taino language variants or dialects. We have one in Hiwatahia Taino and one in Taino Nike. And so the phrase that I want you to learn today, if you haven't already learned this phrase, is my name is, or mi nombre es, o me llamo. In Hiwatahia Taino, we say da irile. So for example, da irile Ra. So my name is Ra, o me llamo Ra, mi nombre es Ra. And in Taino Nike, you would say dak anulia Ra. Dak anulia, your name, right? That was one of the first things I learned when I started learning a little bit of Taino Nike, thanks to Priscilla. So I'm gonna come back to this page I had before. So if you're interested in learning more about these variants, like I said, you should check out Casa Areito. You can also check out the Taino-Borikua book, which now, for the most part, is known as Taino Nike. But it was previously known as Taino-Borikua. Or if you want to learn about Hiwatahia, you can check out our dictionary. This is our new edition, our second edition, Hiwatahia, of the Jikotea dictionary, and that is available for purchase via Cacique Jorge from the Hiwayagua organization. And if you want more information about that, you can reach out to me and I will give you that information. Okay. So here was just, in case you want to check out Casa Areito, or if you want to message me, if you're interested in Hiwatahia classes, or Hiwatahia resources, or if you want to check out our IG page or our Facebook page, and you are wondering about that, you can always reach out to me and I will give you that information. Okay. So I want to talk about Reencuentro Taino Conference, which was awesome. So I've been really eager to tell you all about the conference. So I've added here some pictures from the conference. It was an amazing time. We were treated with so much love and respect, and we got to meet so many amazing people and just be in conversation with so many awesome leaders in our community. These are just some photos that I wanted to share with you and that I've also posted on my Instagram and my Facebook, so they're also there. I got to chat and meet with two awesome archaeologists whose work I've been following for quite some time, Reniel Rodriguez Ramos and Miguel Rodriguez Lopez. And because of this, I've invited, I'm going to stop share here. I invited Veronica to tell us a little bit about her experience at the Reencuentro Taino conference as someone who, was just attending and all the things that she got from it and that she learned. And Veronica is a tour guide on the island in Boriquén, right? And has a lot of content about homeschooling and also looking at Puerto Rican identity. And anyways, I'll let her explain to you who she is, what she does, and a little bit about her experience at the conference. Hola, Verónica.
Hola, pues mi nombre es Verónica, my name is Veronica, y soy una mamá homeschooler. Desde que tuve a mi chica quería hacer homeschooling, pero pues por mis circunstancias económicas decidí ponerla en la escuela, pero hacer como que after school, y con la pandemia pues pude hacer homeschooling, y también durante la pandemia terminé mis certificaciones y continué como guía turística, así que también me la llevo conmigo a trabajar. Se me hace mucho más fácil hacer homeschooling de esa manera y también pues demostrarle Puerto Rican history así, mientras I'm doing it, while I'm sharing our information. Y yo llevo bastante tiempo tratando de incorporar nuevas historias a mi trabajo como guía, porque lo que se nos enseñan es bien colonial history y eso es lo que se promueve para decir y and I've never believed it. So fui en mi búsqueda sobre lo que la historia taína que sí podía contar y ahí me di cuenta que había mucha información que yo también tenía que aprender. Y en esa trayectoria, pues llevo ya como 2 años, más o menos, 1 año y medio, 2 años, en lo que estoy recopilando all the information I can have and I can get. Y mientras pues voy aprendiendo, también voy pendiente a ver qué hay para niños e incorporarle mi homeschooling. So, para mi chica tiene 11 años, se llama Luna. Y pues para enseñarle a Luna sobre nuestra historia, primero me la tengo que aprender yo. Así que mientras voy aprendiendo, le voy enseñando. Y para el reencuentro taíno, pues yo me la llevé. Me la llevé los días que fui a las conferencias, le iba explicando de qué eran las conferencias. Algunas, ella pues fue partícipe y escuchó y estuvo pendiente. Y en otras, pues, it was too much adult information. Y pues ya ella, she zoned out. Pero yo al final le explicaba qué era lo que se estaba diciendo. Dentro de eso, ella creo yo, ¿verdad? Que va a tener esas experiencias grabadas y en un futuro pues puedo retocar el tema de lo que fue las conferencias y hopefully que haya más que podamos participar. So básicamente, that's where I'm at right now. El proyecto
Yeah.
puertorriqueñistas, ¿verdad? Si me siguen en Instagram, Facebook. En Instagram estoy mucho más activa. Sí tengo Facebook y TikTok y un YouTube, pero nada más tengo un video en YouTube. Y it's kind of hard being, homeschool mom, tour guide, y plus putting out content. Pero I'm doing my best because there's not enough. There's not enough. And I love sharing because I love learning. And if somebody shares, information with me, I feel like I should share it too because there's somebody else ahead that hasn't heard it yet. Y pues, at the end, todo el mundo coge the bits and pieces of what I share and they add it to themselves and to their family. Y pues, like, ese es mi thrive, como que compartir lo que yo voy aprendiendo porque siento que I don't know enough of being Boricua, of being Puerto Rican, of being a part of this community and, el Caribe, la Antilla. Like, there's just so much that I just think que nos han desconectado y pues quiero que mi hija y quizás algunos otros pequeños pues vayan creciendo ya con esta noción completamente diferente de lo que es ser taíno y no seguir separándonos y seguir promoviendo la educación que se está dando ahora que todavía like no es para nuestro futuro, es como para mantenernos en un estado que no estoy de acuerdo y por eso es que hago homeschooling, porque entiendo que no nos sirve para bien, para nosotros ni para la sociedad que queremos crear, en mi perspectiva, ¿verdad? De eso trata Puertorriqueñistas y esa es mi labor.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Gracias por compartir eso. Y cuando dijiste esto de que esas experiencias se le van a quedar grabadas, that's definitely true because, my mom took me to our first like Areito ceremony when I was like I think I must have been like 5 or 6. And I will never forget that. Like, I will never forget that. I will never forget being there, what it felt like, what it smelled like, how everybody looks so much taller. When you're little, everybody looks like the adults look ginormous, and the water and the music and the stones and the trees and everything, It was in Ponce where I was born. And so, yeah, those things like se nos quedan grabada and you are formulating something really special. And so I thank you for like sharing information online and helping other people learn, and I'm curious, how did you find out about the Reencuentro Taino conference?
Pues, I've been listening to a podcast called El Archipiélago Histórico. And because I want to know like what we're doing now, like how are we rescuing our history, but how are we also like recreating? Like I believe in restorations and things like that, and I hear a lot about Indigenous people elsewhere and how they are claiming what they're owed and things like that. And I wanted to see if somewhere in the world they were doing it here. So Archipiélago Histórico like comes right there when I'm like in this big search, and he posted a video with Areito with Priscilla Colón, and I was like, wait, what? There's somebody putting out content about Taino language, and I just had to think, wait, I have a lot of Taino dictionaries here that are, are not like the best way to speak a language. Is just like bits and pieces, and most of it is Spanielized. Pero I was like, I gotta check this out. So I checked her out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta go to this conference. I hope they don't kick me out because nobody knows me. But porque I'm not part of a big community or anything. I'm just like looking for information and wanting to be to live what quizás our ancestors wish they could live, you know, so I aspire to that future. Pero in that search, I'm like annoying porque there's so much, like there's so little, but there's so much like separation, like so much de aquí de allá. Entonces, pues con lo de Casareta, I'm like, okay, so younger people, younger generations are like actively working through their tainidad, and they're not gatekeeping, which is something that I have come through. Like I find names and I find people who are living out their indigeneity, but they're just gatekeeping. So I get it because of history and because of the pain and persecution. I get it. But sometimes some people want to reconnect or want to be part of, and they're looked down on. And I've already received that from some local communities that were definitely not part of the Taino conference. And I feel like in some way it affects connection between everybody and between validation that we believe that we're here, right? Like it's not enough to say that you believe that you're here, you know, you want to see yourself in the world too, because I believe humans are world humans, you know, you just, yes, we are in a place, but we also love to spread out. And that's magnificent. Like to see people like there, I forgot his name, but I found this one person that was studying indigenous plants and foods in Sweden through different methods. And that's why I was like, wait, I gotta go to this conference. I gotta see who's talking. I want to hear everybody. And then I'll go to my own conclusions. But I want to see if there is a way to be more, you know, connected, and maybe me taking my kid to a few activities here. Unfortunately, I did not find any of those local groups that would invite people to their Areitos, or maybe to like any kind of activity that they could connect with new people. So I'm a little sad about that, but I'm happy that other people are still wanting to, as me, reconnect, learn, and learn from each other, and then maybe practice their indigeneity, you know, the best they can. But yeah, I really, really hope that we do another Taino event, and maybe more people will see themselves actually assisting.
Mhm.
And I get why some people didn't assist, especially here in Puerto Rico. But yeah, you know, we do things, we go to places, we learn, and maybe we can reconnect in another way or multiple ways.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with all the stuff that you were saying about the importance of, you know, conectarnos and helping each other. And I'm critical of the same things that you were criticizing, right? Because I think that if we are not stepping forward, showing up as community members in a positive, respectful way, then we're not creating a good community. We're not creating a strong community if we are not invested in being positive leaders, right? In creating environments in all of the islands that nurture you connecting to your identity, to your heritage. Yeah, I think that that's so important. I think that the beautiful thing, right, about the conference, right, is that it connected all these people from different places, from the island, from outside of the island, because sometimes we focus, right, nos enfocamos mucho en la negatividad, right, that exists, but we forget that there are people like you, right, that there are people like Priscilla, that there are all these amazing people who are doing really awesome work, who are connecting the dots, and we might not all live in the same town, but we're there, right? We're out here. And so I think when we get to be under one roof and see each other and speak with one another, it's really validating. It's like, oh, okay, it's not just me. Like there are other people doing this and wanting to break down these barriers and all this gatekeeping and all this stuff, and just be like, I just want to share. Like, I just want to share, and I want to learn from you and you from me, and just like, and that's how you build a healthy relationship with one another, right? You have to be open. What for you was like your favorite part that you experienced?
Well, my favorite part was getting to know, or getting to ask questions, like especially in the archaeologists presentations, because I've seen them, I've heard of them, I've had an idea of what they are about, right? They've been doing this for a couple years, they studied a few places a few years ago, and now they're just, you know, letting people know, hey, we already did the study, we know this stuff, you know, it's not that outdated. But I wanted to ask more because I feel like a lot of it has stalled. So I got to ask a bunch of questions, which I was really excited. And then I got to meet with most of the presenters and talk to them, which is also a super perk, that people are approachable. And I got to also hear about things that I didn't know. And so conference part was my favorite part. I loved it. I love the conferences. I love the connection with the people who were in the conference. That's my favorite.
One of the I want to tell everybody, one of my the cool things that you did after you came to the conference and after we connected, I started following you on Instagram, right? You made a short video. We went some short videos showing all of the little materials that you got from the different sessions, whether it was pamphlets or books or information and stuff like that. And I think that that's so generous of you to do that, because for those people that maybe wanted to attend and couldn't attend or didn't know about it, you know, you're giving them all these like little nuggets of information that, as we were saying antes, right, that it's like, it's so special to be able to share that, to feel comfortable enough to share these little pieces of information, because it's helping someone else who wasn't there and doesn't know what the experience was like. Thank you so much, Veronica, for telling us about your experience, a little bit about who you are. I recommend that everyone check out Veronica's work and her content. Anything that you want to add, Veronica, before we wrap up our conversation?
Yes, I want to say two things. One, I want to mention, if you really like more in depth what she's saying, I put it on my stories, and then I added it to my Instagram highlights. And I'm going to keep on accumulating as much information as I can in those highlights so people can continuously go and check that out. I have tried to do blogs. That writing is not my thing. Maybe in the future, but I like to post things there. Is where I get I save all my stuff and what I find. So Instagram, if you can, my highlights. And another thing I wanted to mention, I learned a lot about the Taino people that are all actively practicing, and podcasts and books and connections and websites, and people, archaeologists who are out there also actively, communicating about the Taino world and heritage through one certification. I've been looking for a lot of things, but somebody sent me a certification. En la UPR de Bayamón estaban ofreciendo una certificación que se llama Puerto Rico Indígena. Ahora la profesora que lo hizo lo puso en un web page privado y son módulos. Like she talks about it, like mientras está los slides. Yo los recomiendo, aunque es una persona controversial. Ella hizo ese dot y lo puso en información, y era como que aquí es lo que dice fulano, aquí es lo que dice mangano, aquí es lo que dice esta persona. Do your research and figure it out. Y ahí muchos de los presentadores que vi en el Taino Conference ya yo había escuchado un poco de ellos por esta presentación y por este curso. I think it's a little expensive. I think it's like 200 and something. Pero, honestly, I learned about el proyecto de Jorge Esteves de Smithsonian por ese curso. Todos los arqueólogos que han, de una manera u otra, traído información a la modernidad. Like, people who are actively studying things. So, eso con el podcast de Archipiélago Histórico, honestly, have, like, como recopilado mucho en un lugar pequeño y creo que son algo que quiero recomendar. You know, because honestly, for me, it made a huge difference.
Thank you, Arikomabu, Jajón. ¿Puedes poner esa información en el chat?
Sí.
No sé, maybe just the title of Archipiélago, what was it? Archipiélago Histórico. Ajá, para que así, you know, somebody maybe wants to save that title and look it up. And then the other thing that you mentioned, the course, the online
El
course.
curso se llama Puerto Rico Indígena. I'm going to put it on
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know about that. So that's amazing. Thank you. Well, gracias, Veronica, Jajón, Arikomabu. Thank you for being here. And hopefully we'll continue this conversation. You know, I think it's a really important one. Okay. We're going to move on now to Maritza. I'm going to ask Jaceli to pin Maritza. Miyari, Maritza. Hola. How are you? Halikadobu.
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm happy that we are going to have this conversation. So I'm going to read a little bit about Maritza's work. And then I'm going to let Maritza talk a little bit about herself. So Matungero Maritza has been an advocate for reclaiming and reconnecting Taino people in the NYC area for the last 10 years. Matungero Maritza has worked alongside Behike Sanakori with the Indigenous Mobile Library, as well as co-hosting the annual Indigenous Day of Remembrance event at Columbus Circle. And if anybody remembers, we had Sanakori, also known as Ruiz, in Areito, I think it was last year, as a guest, where he shared a little bit of his music. So I'm going to continue reading. Presently, Matungero Maritza serves as the Yucayeke Higuayawa Taino of the Caribbean's advisor for the NYC Regional Cacique Running Cloud, while also serving the wider Higuayawa Yucayeke as Director of Community Relations, aiding Higuayawa's enrollment director in new member orientation and co-facilitating the Yucayeke's bi-weekly book club. Son muchas cosas. There's a lot of stuff that you're doing. So I have to first put, like, you know, do a little bit of storytelling. So I met Maritza many years ago now. I think I was just going into college. I was in my 20s. I was going into college. I'm now in my mid 30s. And she was at the Indigenous Peoples Day of Remembrance at Columbus Circle, which happens on 59th Street in NYC. And it was something that was being led by Behike Sanakori, and Maritza was there assisting, and that's how we met. And I immediately, you were someone who I felt was easy to gravitate towards, because you are very sweet and kind and open, which is what we were just talking about with Veronica, right? About, you know, creating environments, energies that are welcoming, that are respectful, that are open and inclusive. And that's something that you often represent when I think of you, and the energy that you bring forth as a community, in the community. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on here and talk to you and ask you about your trajectory, your personal trajectory as a Taino person, because I like people who are nice and kind and inclusive, you know. So I know I read a little bit of your bio, but maybe you could tell us a little bit more about yourself in terms of, like, where your family's from, where you grew up, where you're from, and, you know, with the kind of work, besides that, other works that you've done.
Sure. Yari Dairile Maritza. Oh my gosh, I'm like blushing inside from from Ra's story. I specifically remember that day too. And to hear other people tell me their impression of me or describe how they view me. I'm like, for real? But thank you for that. A lot like Veronica, I have a focus on giving my children the knowledge of identity that I didn't have before. When I first met Sanakori, I was maybe in my early 30s. I'm not going to go into that long story, but it was very superficial. My like search into all things Taino. Sanakori was like maybe one of the first people that I met who was like, yeah, come along with me and just experience things, you know? And I couldn't have asked for a better guide at that time, because it was like, just come and experience. And so through his example, that's how I have tried to be also. Just, hey, just come and experience, whether it's yours or if you're just observing, just come and experience. And then, you know, you take away what you take away. The trajectory is to live my kids a legacy that they can be proud of, that they can tell their kids, that they can tell their partners and spouses. And, you know, family members of mine who have either denied or hidden this part of us have slowly come around to reclaiming this identity. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud that, you know, my elders are like, yeah, she was onto something. And they started to reclaim it too. And they started to dive into learning more. And the fact that sometimes people like, what did you find in our lineage? And I'm like, oh yeah, titi so and so, and you know, abuelo so and so, and I can tell them names, and I can tell them records that I found building off of another family member's family tree work. That's something that I'm personally proud of, and it's a load of work that now other people can build on rather than having to go back and dig for themselves.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And when you're talking about like, oh, how you know, sometimes our families come around, and at first they're like a little you know, not down with it. Then, you know, they no se burlan, right? They're like, oh, ¿qué tú estás hablando? Esos son, you know, like loquera, oh, Taino what? And then they come around. My uncle a few years ago, one of my uncles, I have many uncles, he called me out of nowhere. And this is not an uncle that I'm close to or anything like that. He was like, hey, I was at work and I had to go to a professional development meeting. You know, he works in doing like health. I'm not gonna say too much about his work, but he works doing health stuff in Connecticut. So he works for the state. He was like, I was in a professional development meeting, and they were talking about, you know, how to serve the indigenous youth population and the mental health crisis. And they talked about Tainos, and they talked about, you know, the Taino history. And, you know, I didn't know that they did all that stuff to us. I'm pissed. I'm so pissed right now. Did you know that? And I was like, yeah, I've been told you. Like, I've been telling you. And he was like, yo estoy encojonado. Yo no lo puedo creer. Que eso, mira, you know, like that. He was like so mad that he went on TikTok and made a video about it. This is the same person that used to make fun of me and be like, que no somos indio. What are you talking about? So se murieron los indios. And now he's like, he made a video right after that being like, soy Taino, you know, estoy orgulloso, like hashtag Taino pride on TikTok. So yeah, it's really sweet to see that moment where your family is like, oh, they're down with it. And you're like, I've been told you, I've been saying this for years. So yeah, I'm on board with you. I wanted to ask you, in your trajectory in the community, what is your earliest memory of like recognizing your heritage, of like having that moment of like, oh, this is part of me, this is part of who I am, this is part of my people's history, it's part of my family's history, like just having that connection?
So there's two that come to mind. Literally earliest one on the timeline was when I was in first grade. Like I always knew I was Boricua, right? I grew up in Brooklyn. And we were never shy about who we are. But in first grade, I specifically remember it was like towards the end of the school year, and I had really long hair up until like maybe fourth or fifth grade. So one of my teachers was like, oh, look at this pretty little Indian. And for a second, I felt offended. I'm like, I'm Puerto Rican. What are you talking about? And it was this like white lady. And she was just bragging about like my long hair and how we called trigueña. She was like, I love the way that you tan so beautifully, and then it fades, and a little bit of colorism was thrown in there. But anyway, but I didn't have that mental connection, right? So someone outside of myself recognized in me what I didn't know. I would always hear about Jibaro, I would always hear campesino, this and that and the third, but it was always talked about like, yeah, we just some rednecks from Puerto Rico. Now we are Indio. When I made the actual connection, I guess I am going to tell my shallow story. It was a romantic interest who was very proud of their Garifuna roots. And I felt ashamed that like the most I can express about being Boricua was like pasteles and the parade and Mark Anthony. And I'm like, no, there's got to be more. There's more to it, you know? So I started researching because he had told me, like, you know, the Garifuna are like the indigenous people of Honduras, and I'm like, okay, I need to come with the same level of conversation. So I started digging, and I was like, what the heck is a Taino? And I started asking family members, right? And some family members are like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And other members are like, don't ask me about that. Or they would change the subject. And just like your uncle, I was getting mad. I was getting frustrated. Just like Veronica explained, you know, I was getting frustrated. Like, I'm hungry for this knowledge and nobody's going to tell me. My mother's paternal uncle had built our family tree, starting from his parents. And so I went to him. I was like, Theo, I need to know about this. I need to know about that. Like, how did you build all of this? And he pointed me to all of the like online sites where he kept records for the family that's scattered. And I was like, okay, cool. He's like, Mari, I don't know what you're looking for, but start looking for census records, start looking for baptismal certificates, marriage records, all of those things. Okay. And so I started digging, and I'm looking, and I'm like, I'm reading all of these books. I'm spending like all my money on books, and I'm reading things, and it's all coming together. And I was like, but wait a minute, Theo Andy looks kind of like what I read in the book. And Titi Baldamueda looks like what I'm reading in this book. But all of their records kept saying like negro or blanco or whatever. And I was like, maybe this is not mine, but I still want to learn, right? It was no longer about the romantic interest. Now it was like, this is something nobody taught me. Like, why did nobody tell me? And I just kept reading and digging and reading and digging. And finally, I found two separate census records. One was after the US took Puerto Rico. So it was like the first United States census of Borican, right? And it has family members listed as Meclao, Negro, Blanco. And then I found the one previous to that was Spain's census. a lot of the same members were Meclao, but some of them were Indio. I struck gold, and I was like, yes, it really is mine. I'm not faking it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not some wackadoo making stuff up. I can actually take ownership of this, and that just motivated me to do more and do more and do more. And the more I started, like Veronica was talking about, searching events and searching websites and searching everywhere that I could, that was how I found Sanokori. And he was like, yeah, just come and experience. And it just kind of exploded from there. And like I said, I didn't want my kids to grow up not knowing this about themselves. You know, I'm gonna give myself props. My oldest just turned 22, and I remember a couple of weeks ago, he goes, Mommy, I want to get a tattoo of a petroglyph. Can we talk about the different petroglyphs? Because I don't want to put something on me that can basically do daño, right? My middle child, you know, she's come home and she's had stories of, you know, they were talking about like indigenous people in school, and I had to check my teacher because she was on some BS. And I'm like, yes, girl, yes, do that. You know, let them know that whatever curriculum they're reading from is incorrect. And she can cite her sources. She's like, well, mommy's got this book at home and this book at home. Proud, right? And then my youngest, he's just turned 15, but when I started this journey, he was barely in pre-K. So I
remember you bringing your youngest,
right?
Yes.
His whole experience has been like, I'm Taino, whereas the other ones were already halfway through elementary and entering into middle school. So my only regret is that I didn't have the information sooner to have all of them on that same path. But the fact that we got on path, and whatever degree each of the children identifies with their indigeneity, for me, they identify with it. Y punto. That's it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for sharing all of that.
You're welcome.
Where would you like to see the Taino community in the near future? Like, or what things would you like to see us doing or accomplishing as a collective, as a larger Taino collective, doing and accomplishing, and how do you think we can, you know, make more bridges to work together?
When you hear the word Boricua, you get a mental image. No matter what it is, you get a mental image. When you hear Dominicana, you get a mental image, right? Cubano, Jamaica, Haitiano, you get a mental image when you hear these nationalities, right? I look forward to the day that someone says Taino and they're thinking of maracas, they're thinking of guamos, they're thinking of Purikenaki or Hiwatahia or any other dialect that's out there. They're automatically thinking not just Boriken, but they're thinking of the entire Lesser Antilles, you know. I look forward to the day, whether it's the Dominican parade or today is Juve in Brooklyn, you know, the West Indian parade, like you expect Taino to be there. You know, it's like it just makes sense. You hear Taino and you make these connections, WI, the Puerto Rican, you just connect them automatically, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I have the same vision. You know, I think that I'd like to see us more connected throughout the Caribbean, in the diaspora. And I think that, you know, we're doing it. Like, I think that there's a new wave of those of us, right, as we are here in this conversation, who are creating those bridges, who are saying, no, I'm gonna do that. If you're not gonna do it, then I'm gonna do it.
Yes.
Just don't get in my way, let's make those connections, from Cuba to the Bahamas and everything in between. Those are our ancestral territories. So whether you are Cuban, Jamaican, Haitian, Dominican, Boricua, whether you grew up in the Caribbean or born in the Caribbean, or you were born in Connecticut or Texas or Florida, if that's who you are, that's your DNA, that's your people's story, then you are us and we are you and we are together and we are kin. And to me, that's not complicated. That's not complicated. And so I think that for people who are not on board with that, I'm like, do you, but I'm gonna keep rolling like this. I'm gonna keep building, our army in this way, because there's only one way for us to succeed, and that's together, ¿verdad? Porque juntos somos más fuertes, right? Y juntos llegamos más lejos, right? So if we're not working together, we're not going to get to accomplish all of these amazing things that we could be accomplishing if we just valued each other and valued what each person brings to the table, because everyone has something special that they're bringing to the table.
Agreed.
So I'm with you 100%.
I completely agree with the bridges, right? Trying to find kind words. I think that an important thing is that folks must learn the difference between gatekeeping and safeguarding, right? Because sadly, some of our elders in the resurgence movement are like, no, this is mine. And they're holding on to it so tightly and jealously guarding it that there's no space for someone else to help carry the load. There's no space for someone to come behind them and pick it up when they can't carry it anymore, right? Versus the safeguarding, we need to protect this thing, and this is how we protect the thing, right? Ra can have her podcast, and Kuya can have their podcast, and Priscilla can continue on YouTube, and Nakai can stand on a soapbox somewhere and bring his cat to show. Everybody has an opportunity, and everybody should have a space to use their voice. Because how are we gonna say, oh, pero listen to me, I'm Taino, and we're smushing down somebody else's voice? That's not safekeeping. That's gatekeeping. Making sure that other people are welcome, right? I'm going to use Indigenous Day of Remembrance as an example. We always gather literally in a circle. Like we pick a place for our communal altar at this event, and then we build a circle with whoever's attending, right? And as people passing by, or they intended to come and join us, the circle just gets bigger, and it just gets bigger, and it just gets bigger. And there's never, oh, no, there's no space. It's like, hey, let's bring it out, And if we can collectively be like, yeah, you got space here. This is your part to play. That's going to be inviting to others. But I think it's also important for folks to have patience, right? You're not going to know everything straight out the gate. There is, again, a difference between, hey, this is what I learned, and I am the authority of all things in this topic. Sadly, there's a lot of folks who do that. They're like, oh, I learned 2 things, so now I'm the man. No, please be quiet. Listen to others. Compare other people's experiences. Compare other people's knowledge and discoveries, and then put them all together like a sancocho. You need the calabaza, you need the steak, you need the corn, you need all of the different things, or it's just not a sancocho. And if at least for me, if we keep that in mind, we are building this, right? more flavors, more heat, more cariño, more this, more that. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that big caldero of sancocho can feed all of everybody. That's how I like to envision this journey. I am building a caldero for everybody. And if Priscilla wants to come and throw some potatoes in there, thank you. And if Yaseli wants to come and she's got some cilantro, thank you. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes, I love it. It's
Versus,
a poem.
get out
That's
my
a
kitchen.
poem. You need to write that. It's a poem. You need to put it out there.
Like, why am I kicking you out the kitchen? You just helped me.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And I think we all are. Yeah, let's be a sancocho. That's, let's do that. Yes. Thank you so much, Maritza, for agreeing to have this conversation with me. We are at 8 p.m. It's 8 p.m. here. So thank you all of you for tuning in. Thank you to Veronica. Thank you to Maritza. Thank you to all of you who tuned in. Now we're gonna play Taino trivia, and then we're gonna wrap up. So let me share my screen again. And this game is for those of you who are who just tuned in to watch. So Veronica's not allowed to play, and Maritza's not allowed to play because I'm pretty sure they already know the answer. So that's why you're not allowed to play. But this is for everybody else. Okay, so the way that we play this game is that I ask a question, and if you know the answer, you put it in the chat. And the first person that has the correct answer in the chat is our winner. And usually what you win, I don't have it here in front of me, is a little sticker. This is not it. It's a little sticker. Usually I buy different stickers made from different Taino artists, from like Alejandra Valles Torres, from Taino art, Jikotea art. I buy little stickers that they make that have like Taino symbols or something like that. And so and I'll mail it to you. So here's our question for today. Currently, or this is not a question, is I want you to complete this. Currently, the chiefdom of Jaragua or Charagua is located in what is today known as, Haiti, yes. Priscilla, yes. Yes, so it is currently in what is today known as Haiti or Haiti. Yes, thank you so much. And you can learn more about this in Priscilla's videos. So, go ahead and check out Casa Areito online. Priscilla makes really awesome educational videos. Hahom, Arikomabu, gracias, thank you to all of you who have tuned in.